What's up, my friend? Welcome back to the Wealthy Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Perry. And today we're talking about my favorite topic of all time, online programs. Now, I have a lot of students inside HCA or even potential students who are interested in HCA get really tripped up on what type of program they should be running. And they don't want to make the wrong choice. But the beauty of an online program is it's really just one online program and it can be executed in a bunch of different ways, and actually 4 different ways, which we're going to go through in depth today. Now, that's what's really nice about it is you don't have to just choose one. You're going to build the program, and then the container or how you execute the program or the type of support that you offer in that program can change. And it can even sort of change on a dime. It can change quickly. If you don't like one way, you can kind of walk it back and do it a different way. And this is why I really love online programs, because there are a lot of choice and they're very versatile. Okay. So what is an online program anyway? Now, if you're not new, you've heard this before, but if this is maybe your first episode or 2 of the podcast, I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. So really, an online program is a structured container to deliver your expertise and then help clients move towards a specific goal. And in the case of health and wellness and personal development, what that means is helping them move from a very specific problem they have, something like acne or Hashimoto's or weight gain, towards that specific goal, which is the clear skin, the ideal body weight, not having Hashimoto's, or at least having it properly managed. It's not just modules plus videos, right? It's how you package your brain, your expertise, your credentials and process into something that can be repeated. Okay. Now, an online program is perfect for coaches and practitioners who are in their first several years of business, because you don't need a massive audience to sell to. You really just need a few ideal people. And that's because we sell, at least if you're hanging out here, we sell high ticket online programs. So we don't need to find hundreds of clients a month. We just need to find a handful, maybe 5 clients a month, maybe 2 clients a month. Really, it depends on your price point. Okay. Now, you can stop drowning in like those single sessions and you can get your time and sanity back, because when you build an online program, people learning and people figuring out or learning from you how to actually solve their problem doesn't have to come from your mouth in a live session, right? We're going to talk about what that looks like in a little bit. Okay. And then what you can do is you can leverage and you can help more people without actually working more hours. Sometimes it does require to work more hours in certain cases, in certain programs, but there are programs where really bringing in a new client doesn't actually lead to a significant impact in your workload. So what an online program looks like, at least the way that I teach it, is you create one unique methodology. And this is sort of your step-by-step roadmap, your step-by-step process that every client who you work with goes through, right? And this can be recorded into videos, into audios, however you want to do it. And basically, it's the process that you teach every single one of your clients. Now, a lot of people get tripped up because they're like, oh, well, my clients require all this personalization. Yes, I'm not saying you can't offer personalization, but when you are helping one type of person with one type of problem, you basically, there are certain base level things that each and every one of those clients needs to know. Like they all need to be eating, say, like a whole foods, maybe paleo diet. Maybe that's your perspective. You're like, you need to be eating a paleo. And you're going to tell all your clients to do that anyways, right? Maybe you're like, well, you need to move, and this is the type of movement you need to do. I guarantee there is a lot of commonality between what you show your clients how to do, especially when you have a single person with a single problem, right? This is really the importance of niching, because you can't create an online program that just helps people with their health. It's going to be huge. You can't create a repeatable process, right? Because everyone's a little bit different, and all these problems that people have actually manifest a little bit different, right? So you have this methodology that everybody goes through. When they enroll in your program, they get access to it. And then what changes is how you support them, right? So maybe there are one-on-one calls, group calls, there could be private messaging support, there could be a Facebook group, right? There are all different ways in which you can actually support that person, but what stays the same is the methodology. And this is why it's one program, different container, right? Because you're creating this unique methodology, you're building it out in some sort of course hosting platform. And then the only thing that changes is the way that you offer support. Okay. So let's start with the one-on-one program. This is sort of classic. And what a lot of us do is we usually start out in one-on-one, but typically that looks like single sessions or maybe something like custom packages. And typically we don't have a niche. So in a one-on-one program, you still have that unique methodology. So let's say I'm a coach who helps, say, women in their 30s with acne breakouts, right? So that's going to maybe be my 4-step, like, clear skin process or whatever, clear skin framework, whatever you're going to call it. And they're going to get access to that. But when they access support from you, there is going to be some sort of one-to-one session or one-to-one container. Okay. And so the cool thing about this is in an online program, a lot of people say one-on-one isn't scalable. One-on-one is actually very scalable, but only to a certain point, right? It's not unlimited because at some point you sort of run out of time and the only thing to do is to keep raising and raising your prices. And, you can only raise your prices so much, right? So with the one-on-one program, because the education, what you're actually teaching people, what you're showing people to do, because that happens inside your methodology and outside of the session, that means that the sessions in which you work with clients are actually significantly shorter, right? So sometimes when we do single sessions, we have 90-minute sessions. Sometimes when we do custom packages, we have 1 hour, 90-minute sessions because we have to do a lot in that session. We have to educate, we have to coach, we have to answer questions, we have to motivate. Like there's a lot of different hats we have to wear even within that one-on-one session. But when the education side of things, right? When that roadmap happens outside of the session, you don't really need an hour-long session anymore, right? Maybe you only need a 30-minute session or a 40-minute session. And this is good news for both you and your client because honestly, people are busy, right? If they can get the same result working with you in, a 30-minute session versus a 60 or 90-minute session, I think everyone is going to be on board with that, okay? Now, who is a one-on-one program best for? I would say that it's best for brand new coaches, right? Who are still building confidence, right? And they're still basically testing their craft, right? And so the great thing about doing a one-on-one program is you learn so much, right? You get a lot of experience, you gain a lot of confidence, you really build your expertise, right? And the nice thing about it is you can kind of test your framework before going bigger. So a lot of people actually like to start with a one-on-one program because they can really test it in a one-to-one sort of container. And that allows them to kind of make adjustments on the spot, right? Because people are literally telling you in real time, like, I don't get this. This is confusing. This feels like way too much. And that's great because you can just, troubleshoot with them. You can help make it easier. And on the spot, you can improve the program. Versus, if you started in a group and you had no experience, it's a little bit harder to test because it's kind of out there and you're not getting that really intimate connection with your clients. Okay. So you can kind of think of a one-on-one program like personal training versus like a group fitness class, right? So the personal training is tailored, but you're also stuck at the gym for every session, right? So like I said, one-on-one is scalable despite what some people will tell you. And honestly, I think for new coaches, it's probably the fastest way to get to 6 figures, right? And the nice thing about one-on-one is you actually have to market less because there's less people to sell to. It's very easy with a one-on-one program to sort of like book yourself out. And what I mean by that is, you can maybe only take on so many clients at once. So when I was doing my one-on-one program, I think I was charging, I believe it was $3,000 and I wanted 4 clients a month. So that was $12K a month. And so after I booked 4 clients in a month, I would start waitlisting people to the following month. And at one point I was basically booked like 4 months out. And yeah, I'm still marketing, I'm still showing up, but there was less of a grind because I felt like, well, I've got clients for the next 4 months. I've taken deposits. Like I feel pretty good. Like, could someone crap out on me? Yeah, but I have the non-refundable deposit. So it's less likely to happen, right? So with one-on-one, you actually spend more time with clients and less time marketing, right? And it's a really great opportunity for you to build your expertise, your experience, and your confidence, right? And to ultimately test your program and make it better. Okay. Now, back in the day, I used to say everyone needs to start with one-on-one. I no longer believe that's true because truthfully, if you don't want to do something, if you hate doing something, then you really shouldn't do it because that's really going to come through when you work with your clients, right? They're going to just feel that, right? So I do believe you can be brand new and start a group program or a hybrid. We'll talk about group program first. But the thing that you need to know is you need to make more sales, right? And with a group program, because it's a group, you're not just selling like one person at a time, like you're selling multiple people, right? Because, you want to keep probably 5 to 10 people, if not more, in it at all times. So you do need to make more sales, right? Which means that as a newbie, you will spend more time audience building and building credibility and trust. Okay. And that does take time. And so typically what we recommend people doing is that they offer their program as a one-on-one while they build their audience so that they can launch a group. so that they can still make money, right? Because a lot of people want to make money. And so you can kind of, prepare your business to be ready for a group program and still make money by offering the exact same program, but in a one-on-one container versus a group. Okay. So basically with your group program, you've got one coach, you, and then many clients, and everyone's working through the same process. Okay. Now with a group program, and this is true for hybrid as well, you have what I call live programs. Some people call these cohort programs, and then evergreen, right? Live is where everyone has a start and an end date. Everyone's starting on the same date. Everyone's ending on the same date, right? Whereas an evergreen, and this is what HCA is set up as, everyone can enroll at any time, essentially, right? And everyone's coming into the program. Everyone's at different places in the program. Everyone's working through it at their own pace, right? But again, you can do both. I started HCA as a live program, and live is actually really great for testing. And when it comes to any one-to-one program, I always recommend that you do one version live first, because it really gives you this amazing ability to test it, right? To get the feedback. There's always going to be like more engagement, more excitement in a live program, right? Because everyone's in the same place. Everyone's showing up live on a Zoom call. There's just a lot more excitement and engagement, which gives you a better ability to test. That's a little bit harder to do in an evergreen program. So we call it a beta program. Some people might call it a test program. But essentially, it's just that first live program that's purely a test. And then from there, you can sort of do what you want. We have some coaches in HCA who will run multiple live versions before they're ready to go evergreen. Totally fine. We have some coaches who only want to do a live program, right? Because they like doing one-on-one most of the time. And then like once a year or twice a year, they run sort of a group cohort. That's also available to you. But for most coaches, the goal is to have it evergreen, meaning that people can enroll at any point. And so we recommend at least one live, and then you go evergreen. Anyways, I wasn't planning to talk about that. I'm off on a tangent. So let's talk about group. Okay. Now, group is really good for coaches who maybe are really burnt out with one-on-one, have been doing a lot of one-on-one, and they're just ready to scale and serve more people, right? It's really good for clients who benefit from peer support and accountability. And like I said, yes, you can do a group program as a newbie, but if you want to make money as you wait for your audience to build, then absolutely offer that program as a one-on-one. Okay. Now, the cool thing about groups that I love is it brings in this community aspect, which I think is really important for a lot of people, because truthfully, when you're struggling with your health, it can be really isolating. Like I know when I was dealing with acne in my 20s, I felt very isolated and alone. I know that when I was dealing with my bout of fatigue, I also felt really isolated and alone because I was like in my 20s having health issues and nobody around me were having these health issues. So I believe I would have really benefited from being in some sort of group with like-minded people, right? Now, with group coaching, this is really, really important to know. You will have less face-to-face time with clients, but it does involve more marketing, right? Because you have to make more sales. So that's just a really important thing to know up front, because if you hate marketing, and honestly, it doesn't really matter if you hate marketing because you're going to have to do it. But if you really like face-to-face time with your clients and you want to do some less marketing, that's where a one-on-one program will really serve you, right? But if you just can't do one-on-one, you just have to accept that you are going to do a little bit more marketing. And honestly, if you want to be an online business, you just got to accept that you're going to do a lot of marketing, and you have to find a way to like it, because it's going to be about 50%, if not more, of what you do. Okay. Now, a hybrid program blends both programs. It's a combination of one-on-one and group. Okay. So it's the same program, same methodology, but the difference is, maybe there's a weekly group coaching call, and then they get like maybe a one-on-one session with you each month, or maybe 2 a month, or maybe 1 at the start, middle, and end. Again, there's a lot of choice in this. Okay. Now, one thing I also want to mention is you can offer one-on-one support without one-on-one calls in the form of private messaging, right? So, if you use a platform like Practice Better, there's a private message feature in that. So that can also double as one-on-one. Okay. So hybrid is really great for coaches who want to do group, but still want to have that kind of more intimate connection with their clients. And it's really great for coaches who want to do lab testing. Now, what I will say is you can do lab testing in any program, including a group. I ran a purely group program with lab testing. We didn't offer any one-on-one, and it worked great. Our clients got great results. So just know that it's possible. But a lot of coaches want to offer like a test result session to go over lab tests, that sort of thing. And so a hybrid is actually a really, really good option for coaches like that. But again, if you don't want to do one-on-one, you don't have to. Okay. So that is the hybrid. Now, with the DIY, which really just stands for do it yourself, this is self-paced, no support, right? Clients buy it, they watch it, and well, hopefully do the work on their own. Okay. I would actually consider this more of a course, but I always like to talk about it because I always get a lot of questions about it. Now, I do not recommend DIY programs for anything that involves transformation focused work, which is essentially what all of us do. Okay. Because truthfully, there are really bad statistics when it comes to do it yourself. It's actually a really hard sell, especially these days, because at this point, it's not your people's first rodeo. They've invested in DIY courses and programs at this point since 2020, when we had this kind of everyone kind of went online. And most people have learned that they don't actually finish something with some level of human support, right? And so people these days, for anything like I would say over $300-400, like they are expecting some sort of support, right? And, I teach high ticket because I think high ticket is the only way for new coaches to have a really sustainable and profitable business. And when you're charging, under 1,000, under 500, like that's where we get into that high volume sales. And honestly, it's a hard sell. DIY is a really hard sell because people expect support these days because they already know that if they don't get support, they're probably not going to finish it. So when we're dealing with complex goals, which would be health and wellness, most people need accountability and feedback, right? Because truthfully, you could have this, perfectly laid out roadmap, but someone could take, a magnesium supplement or a fish oil supplement and they could react to it, right? People need troubleshooting. They need feedback. They need your support. So unless it's like a micro topic, like a DIY thing works for like tiny little micro topics, but not like big things like solving your acne, healing your endometriosis, right? Reversing Hashimoto's. That typically won't do well in a course. It'll be a hard sell. And a lot of your people aren't going to get results. And you're probably never going to hear from people, which is really problematic if you're newer and don't have a lot of experience, because then you're never going to know if your methodology is actually working. And so that's why for new people who don't have a lot of experience, I actually do recommend that they start with one-on-one and then scale from there. Okay. So like I said, the expectation today is people want some access to you, right? And even in a scalable offer, remember, accountability sells. Accountability is really important. People want that accountability. They want to be able to ask you questions. They want to feel supported. So it is one of the online programs that I like to mention, but it's not one that I recommend. There is a place for a low ticket DIY offer in your business. Sometimes I've actually covered a podcast episode on that. So I will link to that episode in the show notes if you want to check that out. But for our main offer where we're making most of our money from, I do not recommend a DIY. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We have one-on-one, we have group, we have hybrid, and we have DIY. Now, DIY, skip it, right? Unless you only want to sell info and not transformation. Again, it's going to be a really hard sell. You're going to struggle with it. I guarantee it. So I don't recommend that route. So really we're focusing on one-on-one, group, and hybrid. If you're brand new, no coaching experience, never worked with a client, maybe start with one-on-one. But if you really want to go group, for sure, go group or hybrid, but just know that you may not be making money while you build your audience. So maybe it would be nice if you were willing to offer your program in a one-on-one format. Okay. All right, my friend, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wealthy Coach Podcast. If you love this episode, I would so appreciate if you would leave me a 5-star review on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. I would so appreciate that. And I will see you next Monday, same time, same place, where I help you become wealthy AF.